sleeping most of the way anyway, so.
I hope so. I can sleep on an airplane. The only thing I don't like is when it's beginning to let down, my ears get blocked.
We have chewing gum.
When I was flying, I did a lot of, if I had a good co-pilot, I did a lot of sleeping. Because they had me on a terrible timetable. I was always wake up at 2 o'clock, going over the first ridge at 3 o'clock, and then probably around 3:30 to 4 I was at Kunming. Usually I went into Kunming.
How long of a flight was it? Like a couple hours?
I don't know. I don't remember, Dave.
Oh.
I thought you said it was about 3 hours.
3-hour flight?
But we went into different bases all the time. Some were little tiny bases that you really had to three-point that big ship to get in there. And I can remember the first time I went into one of those small fields, and I taxied in. I went into operations, and the operations, the sergeant, he said, "Hi, Roy." And hi, I said, "Hiya, Steve." We hadn't seen each other since the 6th grade.
Wow.
It's a wonder. I guess neither of us had changed that much, so we remembered each other very well.
Well, you're both in your early 20s, so it couldn't have changed too much.
Yeah.
Yes. Before the weight sets in.
Well, at that time, I was real light. I went over weighing 178, and I came back weighing 139.
That's skinny.
I couldn't eat the food over there. All I had was K rations. When I returned from a flight, you got 2 shots of liquor, and I always carried a bottle of beer, so you get nice and cold up there. And have a bottle of beer with my K ration, go back to my basha, and eat and drink and fall asleep until they knocked on my door the next morning. I didn't even have a door. My first 6 months in India, I lived in a tent. And we had a little elevator that went in the ground. Just could hold about 3-4 cans. We let it down there about 3 feet. We didn't dig the thing. It was there when I got there. Then you pull it up about 12 hours later, and you got a cool beer at least. Ice was an unknown thing there.
Do you remember, was it local beer, like India beer, or States beer?
It was, seemed like the name was Schmitz, most of it, from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, great.
And we always talked of it in terms of green beer. But it's kind of nice to think about those things. At the time, I wasn't too happy being away from my bride. We had spent too much time apart.
Yeah, because you basically got married and away you went. I mean, there wasn't...
Yep. Well, when we got married, Uncle Sam was paying me $50 a month to stay home. They didn't know what they wanted to do with me. So finally one day, I was sworn in April, and in August they decided they would take me. And I went first class from Cleveland. I had I think it was a 3-compartment room. I was in there with 2 other fellas. Everything was, you couldn't wish for anything more. And boy, the Air Corps really treats you right. Well, so much for that. We got down to Nashville, and I don't know if I should tell you what they do there. And we pulled in by bus to the field, and the first thing you have to do, they say, "Oh, you guys line up now. We're going to have a short arm inspection." And it must have looked funny to anybody if they would have seen it from a little distance. Here's a whole bunch of guys that had partially civilian clothes on, standing there with their penis out, and other guys marching up and down checking. Well, anyway, after a couple days there, I was issued a complete uniform, but I actually wasn't a cadet yet. I had to go through a lot of psychological, intelligence, and physical tests before you say, okay, you're a pilot, you're a navigator, or you're a bombardier. And fortunately, I was the first one in my class to know it. I was down there, I don't know why I was down to operations, but they had my name on the board for pilot. So I came home and I called Mom immediately, told her about that. So about a week later, all those that were classified pilots were put on, I think it was a cattle train. And it would stop at every junction. They would put us off and let another train go through. It took us well over a week to get from Nashville to San Antonio, Texas.
Wow.
So my first trip was nothing but the best, but it was going deteriorating rapidly. So then I had they changed our category from 4 weeks of pre-flight. We had 8 weeks. I don't know. They were doing a lot of different things with our class. And so after 8 weeks of pre-flight and being called aviation cadets, none of us got near an airplane. That you had to take a lot of math, a lot of physics, code, some engineering. Oh, one very important thing was aircraft identification on silhouettes, so you knew who was the enemy and who wasn't.
That's important.
And not only in airplanes, we had to do it with battleships, destroyers,
Wow.
and anything that would be an enemy, we had to know. We were only in 8 weeks. I got off the base only one time.
That was San Antonio?
Yes.
Oh.
Our headquarters for the cadets was, oh boys, Gunder Hotel. And many, many years later, we had a reunion there, and I took Mom to dinner in the Gunder Hotel, and all she ever knew was there was a Gunder, but what it was, and I explained to a fellow there that had worked there a long time what it looked like when I was there. They had made $1 million renovation of the place, and I didn't recognize the downstairs at all. They used to have great big sand, concrete sand boxes for cigarette butts and things like that. They were all gone, and that whole floor was clear. They moved the dining room from one side over here to way over to the other side.
So you hardly recognize the place.
Yeah.
But the name was the same.
It's almost right across from the Holiday Inn on the river. Now, San Antonio is a beautiful city. I like to go there. They have the river going through it, and you can, at that time, you could get a rowboat. Now, they take you in an electric boat, and take maybe 20 people at a time.
What, from one side to the other?
No, just down the river and up the river.
Oh.
They had bridges going from one side to the other, and you could sit and have a cocktail. Mom and I did this too. We had margaritas and all the Mexican food while just watching the river. Just beautiful, peaceful.
So getting back to your grandmother.
Yeah, I got off of grandmother. We had how many children?
Right.
Yeah, there were 5 in on my dad's side, and I think 7 on my mother's side.
So did the families get together, you know, for Christmas? Like everybody get together?
No.
No?
Well, at Christmas time, the kind of work my dad did, he was working Christmas Day, so I always had my Christmas at home on Christmas Eve.
Mm.
Then Christmas Day Eve, then we all went to my grandma Schlee's house and exchanged presents.
Oh. And that was Christmas Eve night.
Yeah.
That you did that. Oh, okay. Because I remember, I guess it was after I figured out there wasn't a Santa Claus, that we used to get together Christmas Eve night, and that's when we exchanged presents too, right? Yeah? So is that where that came from, or it just turned out that way?
It turned out that way.
Oh.
That was the way it had to be. I don't know whether I ever told you, but my dad worked 8 days a week. If you can understand hard work there.
Yeah.
Well, the way this came about, he was the circulation manager of Brooklyn for the Cleveland Plain Dealer. So all the papers that came in that area came from my dad. The thing was that he'd have to get up 2 o'clock every morning, and he was usually through by noon or 1 o'clock. It was good in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
This went all through the week and even Saturday, but this is where the Saturday problem came in all these 8-day weeks. He had to go back in the evening on Saturday evening for what they call the Bulldog edition in the newspaper slang.
Mm-hmm. Which is the Sunday.
Yeah, it's really a Sunday. It's the earliest Sunday. Then the latest one comes out 2:30 in the morning, so you start again.
Oh. So he had a double shift on like Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Or actually Saturday night, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to work for my dad as a jumper.
Uh-huh.
I probably told you that.
Uh-huh. Well, go right ahead.
Yeah, well.
And a jumper is?
A jumper is you stand on the running board. I don't know if everybody knows what a running board is anymore. But anyway, from there you had all your paper. You got the whole back seat full of papers,
Uh-huh.
and then on the front seat passenger side, you'd count out your papers, tie them up, and drop them off, whether it was for a newsboy or for a store or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then I just, as the car is still moving, I jump off and throw the papers. And then my dad never slowed down much. He just kept right on going, and I had to run after him and jump on.
Uh-huh.
It was a nifty job.
Now, how old were you at that time? Was that like before you turned 10?
Yeah, I think I was doing it somewhere between 10 and 12.
Oh.
Got a buck for that. So.
Hey, that's
Yeah.
good pay back then.
Yeah. Well, what I was a fill-in for the guys that, to give them his regular jumper a day off.
Uh-huh.
Now his regular jumper made $7 a week. And the one I remember the most is he'd get paid. Well, after we would finish our runs, we'd go to a restaurant and have breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And this one place had, it was just on the borderline of Cleveland, and they had slot machines in there. And my dad had paid this kid, and when he came out, he was broke again, didn't have a dime to his name. He lost everything in slot machines for working all week long.
Now, slot machines like gambling.
Yeah.
They had that in?
Yeah, they had them in Cleveland.
Wow.
Now this wasn't actually, you weren't in Cleveland. You're about one road from being in the Cleveland area.
And that was Brooklyn? Was that the city you were in, or was it like the county?
And it was the county.
Oh.
but I don't know when they stopped the gambling, but I had an uncle that was, and he worked with the gangsters and the gamblers, whoever was running this stuff. And he had a special home over near, on Harvard Avenue for years. And this was before or during Prohibition. And so people were glad to go in there so they could get a drink of some kind.
And if they went in for a drink, they also went in for the gambling.
Yeah, right.
And the, So then, as far as Christmas, when I guess you said you all went over to your grandmother's house?
Yes,
So that was all the other families too, or was it just?
Just on the Schlee side.
Oh.
The other side of the family, I don't know what they did. There was no exchange of gifts of any kind with them.
And were they all in the Cleveland area too?
Yes,
Oh, you just, didn't see them that much then?
No. I did see him a lot in this respect. My mother and dad liked to, when he was through work, traveling, they'd just go any place. They'd visit any of my aunts or uncles.
Oh, just get out of the house.
Yeah. I guess it was for my mother's benefit more than anything. And if they went to a place that I didn't like to go, I just stayed home. Even when I was 7 years old, I stayed home alone and read books. My dad, being working for the Plain Dealer Publishing House, they had a lot of books, so I would get new books for Christmas all the time.
What was your, do you have any favorite Christmas presents that you got that you...
Well, when I was 7 years old, excuse me, I got I always wanted to be a cowboy, so I got a cowboy suit.
Right.
And I also had a 28-inch bicycle, a Ranger. And it was real cold yet, so I had it in front of the tree, and I would put it on a stand, the back stand, so the back wheel would go around. And I was pumping away on that thing right in front of the tree, and I lost my balance. And
Oh no!
I fell on the tree and knocked the whole thing down.
Was it funny at the time?
Yeah. Well, I don't remember how funny it was, but they laughed afterwards. But that's the one Christmas that stands out in my mind. I got things that I always wanted. And my best buddy at that time, he got an Elgin for Christmas, and mine was a Ranger. You hear an awful lot of arguing back and forth of which of the one had the best bike. But I visited some fella in our neighborhood way down in South Florida, just about 6 months ago, and his name was Lamont Peters, and we always called he was one of the older boys. We all called him Lemons. And anyway, I knocked on the door and I said, "Hey, is there a fellow by Lemons around here?" And that took him back a couple steps. So anyway, when we got in there, we had a couple drinks, and he started talking to, there was a neighbor in there too, one that graduated from Rhodes with Mom. And all that Lamont could talk about was my Ranger bike. He said, "Hey, this thing had everything, a tool kit, a pump, and just ready for anything."
Gotta close. We got too much sunlight coming in here. All right.
That's right.
You want some more to drink?
No, I better not, Dan. While I'm on the airplane, I don't want to be running up and down the aisle and find out that it's not open.
So I think you're going to be sitting very close to...
Well, we requested very close coming here, but we weren't very close.
Oh. Get this. guess I can take the date off of there now. Mom, what are you doing?
Cleaning my glasses.
Oh, you can come down and join us anytime.
Alright. Sound like Dad was on a roll.
Oh,
I
he
thought I
is.
let him roll.
Oh, gonna keep them rolling. Let's see, so we're talking about Christmas and the family. And then as you were growing up, you said you had that, was it scarlet fever?
Rheumatic fever.
Rheumatic fever. Is there there is a scarlet fever
Yes,
though, right?
Oh,
Okay.
yes. You used to be quarantined if you had that.
Oh.
Now, rheumatic fever, I don't know if that's contagious or not. What it usually starts from is from a sore throat. Then it gets into all your bones, and you can hardly move a muscle. Just one big piece of pain. And I had that when I was just starting as a freshman in high school. I can remember I was playing with the kids up the other end of the street. We were shooting maggots, and I started to feel dizzy. It seemed like I had a cloud of everything over me all the time. So my folks weren't home at the time, so I crawled in through the milk chute and milk chute. Anybody know what a milk chute is?
Not me, but go ahead anyway.
Well, it usually was built in every house. It was about that square. And I could always get in the house without a key.
It was usually at the landing, where you go down to the basement, up into the kitchen. That's where you got your milk delivered every day. A door on the outside and one on the inside. And when it was freezing cold, your cream would be popped out of the bottle by that much. Now, where were you?
Well, anyway, I had gotten that, and they didn't have a cure for it at the time like they do today. In fact, they're saying now that they're losing that cure. But anyway, I had the sore throat, and then then it went into one of my ears, and they talking about an operation on my what do you call that bone back there now?
Mastoid.
Mastoid, and that kind of scared me. But after that, then I had ingrown toenails because my blood was bad, and I had big festering things on my toes.
Yeah.
And well, the doctor said there was nothing they could do, but I wanted some wintergreen rubbed on my sore body, and my mother would do that. And the doctor told her that this don't do any good, but if he thinks it's doing him some good, we'll just keep on doing it. And then we started coming into a time where it was an all-star game in Cleveland, which I knew my dad had tickets for, and we were supposed to go. And they said that helped me too. I wanted to go so badly.
Just happened to be in town that year.
Yeah.
So it must have been what, the late 30s?
I think it was 33.
Well, that was the first year. The first All-Star game was 33.
It was 34.
Wow.
Anyway, I couldn't do play in any athletics for, it was 2 or 3 years. I guess it was 16 before they allowed me to do it. All I could do was sit. And this proved out to be the thing that would be the best for me because, and normally rheumatic fever leaves you with a heart muscle that is weak.
Oh.
And even today, when I go into a dentist especially one dentist we had, boy, they wouldn't touch me because I had rheumatic fever when I was 13, 14 years old. So it was pretty serious, but it never affected me to my knowledge, and I hope it never does.
Well, the dentist wanted you to take a medication before he would work on you.
Yeah.
What, an antibiotic, I guess?
Yeah. Well, it was a girl that cleaned your teeth that wanted that. The dentist said, let him go as is. Because he'd been drilling in my teeth and doing things for years, and nobody bothered to question it. But I always had this on my record when I was in the service, and every time I was changed from one base to another, they'd have to have another, what they call a 6-4, that's our complete physical. And while the other guys had one, I always had 2 of them. So nothing was ever caught there, but I didn't know it at the time that I could have been washed out any time before I ever got near an airplane.
Would have changed history.
Oh, it sure would have.
Roy would have been devastated.
Yeah. Oh, he would have found something else to be good at.
We couldn't have done the things that we're doing if it weren't for that.
That's right. That per diem. I say that per diem helped.
Oh, when I was in Great Falls?
When you were flying.
Yeah, when I was flying Great Falls to Fairbanks, as soon as I got out of stateside and in the Canadian territory, I got to $7 a day, wasn't it? Yeah. So at that time, I could send all my salary home to Mom. Timmy was born just about that time, and I lived on the $7 a day. That may sound like it's easy, but as an officer, you had to buy your own clothes, your own food, any entertainment, your cigarettes. You got nothing like the GIs got.
I was just thinking that you were flying for $7 a day, and for somebody to work at McDonald's is like $7 an hour now. I mean, things have changed a little bit.
Greatly.
Yeah.
Well, that's, whenever I think about flying, that was my fun flying days.
Yeah.
I think the worst time I had was in basic. I had a first lieutenant buck him for a captaincy, and boy, out of his first 4 students, he washed 2 of them out almost immediately. And then later on, he got to me, and he put me up for a check ride with Captain Liebhardt. And got through with Liebhardt, and he said that, well, one thing that happened on that, as we got to about 500 feet, the engines start cutting out. And the first thing you do when your engine cuts out is switch tanks. It could be that you got an empty tank there.
Yeah.
So, and he could see what I was doing because he's got the same thing in the back seat that I got in the front seat. So he said, I'll take it for a little bit, let me have it. And so he flew around a little bit, and then he had me do a few basic maneuvers, and then said, okay, take me in. And that landing, I had the best landing of my life until that point. It's just a perfect 3-pointer. You didn't even know you're on the ground. When I got out of the plane, he said, nothing wrong with you, you're okay.
Now, which plane was it?
BT-13, a Vultee. Not such a good airplane either. It was underpowered.
Now, most of the trainers are. Keep the high power stuff to the...
Yeah, well, at AT-6, then you got into something high power.